Welcome to Drawing with Vince Mancuso.
In this video, we're going to take a look at the wireframe skeleton, reducing it down to its essential proportions, remembering that the crotch is the halfway point, the belly button's at 3 heads, the clavicle is at 2 heads and a third, the base of the knee is at the 6th, and the foot is on the 8th. Now, the idea here is it's not about the anatomy, okay? It's just about the proportions and the shapes. I'm drawing very simplistic figures here, but they look humanoid because the proportions are correct. Understanding the halfway point and remembering that there is an outer box around the figure, you can start to divide this in half and then into quarters and get the chest, the crotch, the knees, the head. And you can start to create proportional figures in space and sitting them and lying them down on the ground. You start to follow the proportions of the body. Simple shapes, proper proportions, it looks humanoid. Look at this foreshortening here. A very difficult thing to draw even with a model. And it ends up, looking believable in perspective. Remember that box. You can project that, right? It goes back to the cube, the box in perspective. Now the differences between male and female. Once you start to find your shapes, whether they're cylinders, spheres, cubes, right? If you start to remember those rule of opposites, the male shoulders are wider, the female shoulders are narrow, the male hips are narrow, the female hips are wider. Female legs are thinner, male legs are thicker. Ankle is high on the inside, low on the outside. Remember the rule of opposites and apply it to the mannequin when you're muscling it up, and you can start to create clear, identifiable male and female mannequin figures in proportion. Right? Keep it simple. Okay? You see here, and all of a sudden, it's like they become completely identifiable. And the proportions, I'm adding a little bit of anatomy here, right? But keep it simple. Shapes. Find your shapes. Is a leg a kind of a cone-like shapes, staggered? Is a chest squarish or cylindrical? What works for you? You have to create your own skeleton, and you have to find your shapes that allow you to comfortably identify the major areas of the body. Now we're doing a back view here. Notice the letter forms that start to appear. The M in the shoulders, right? And the peak of the M is where the width of the shoulders is, and then you attach the deltoids for the arms. They're add-ons. The W at the small of the back, the butterfly shape in the buttocks and in the hip girdle, right? The sort of triangular shapes of the your scapula bones, your wings in the back. Okay? Find your shapes. Remember them. Then you can go to them and they will reveal to you the characteristics. You see the M shape for the upper shoulders, the W for the lower back, the butterfly for the buttocks, 2 cylinders that are becoming cone-like for the legs. Find your shapes, right? Practice your proportions. Then you'll be able to draw the figure anywhere in space. You know how to put a cylinder in foreshortening, so why wouldn't you be able to put a leg? Now you start looking at rotating the body around from a profile view to a 3/4 view to a frontal view to a back view to a 3/4 view to a profile view. The profile works on curves and counter curves running through the neck and the shoulders, right? The upper chest box is turned upward, right? So that you're looking into the bottom. The hip girdle is turning downward so that you're looking into the top, right? And then the legs attach. Notice how the head is staggered. It's not a straight line through the spine, it's actually on an angle. Now I'm structuring out the 3/4 view by using the box to give me the perspective and identifying the proportions. Having a little fun here, I'm doing a little crossover with the guy and girl joining in the middle, and now I'm going to do a 3/4 view of a female and end with the profile view of the female in the transition. A little prelude to your upcoming project. Okay? Crotch, halfway point, nipples, 2 heads, right? Shoulder, clavicle, 1 1/3 heads. And you start to structure out your figures. Whether they're male and female, you can start to rotate them around in any position and project them in perspective. Practice this till it becomes automatic in your memory, so that you know where the belly button is. You know that the elbow lines up with the belly button. Okay? That's your proportion. Your crotch is in the middle. Your base of your knee is above the 6th head spot. Once you start remembering those things, your head is constructed by a sphere. It's on a slight angle on the neck. The wrist lines up with the crotch.